Let's talk more about this campaign situation, though, live now by CTV News political commentator and former federal NDP leader Tom Mulcair. I really appreciate the time this morning, Tom. This is interesting because Mark Carney went out of his way yesterday to defend Paul Chiang, saying, you know, I accept his apology. This is a terrible mistake, et cetera, but I'm hanging on. And then by 11 o'clock last night, Chiang pulls out of the race. There seems like a disconnect there, but also that Mark Carney really spent a lot of time and created a lot of controversy along the way.
Yeah, this has become, unfortunately, a problem on Carney's campaign. Things make it up to his level that should not get anywhere near him. And when he made that statement yesterday, I was doing a radio show with our colleagues in Toronto. And I said, look, there's no way that that decision will be maintained. It's impossible for that candidate to stay in the race. Now, there was a bit of a face saving involved. He's the one who says he's withdrawn, but let's not kid ourselves. He was told that he had to withdraw, otherwise he'd be pushed out. It was an incredible mistake by the campaign. How did they let that get to Carney? And what was Carney doing in front of a microphone talking about an individual candidate? You just had the example of a conservative candidate being given the heave-ho. You don't see Pierre Poilievre all over this thing. So, you know, a lot's been made of the fact that Carney, despite his great experience at so many levels, has sometimes shown a lack of political experience. But the people around him are supposed to have that political experience. And clearly they didn't. This was a boneheaded move. There was no way Mr. Chiang was going to be re-elected to the Parliament of Canada as a Liberal candidate. There is such thing as right and wrong. And what he had said was so wrong that it was morally inept on the part of the Liberals to even have suggested that he could stay.
Yeah, especially when you look at, you know, Canada's kind of tumultuous relationship with China. We had the two Michaels locked up there and the assassination of Canadian citizens. So do you think that now that Chiang has stepped aside, you know, even though it's kind of a little too late, is this going to hurt the federal Liberal campaign in any way, or is this just today's news and tomorrow we're on to something else?
In the story just before I had the pleasure of talking with you, Jennifer, we saw what the numbers are looking like. In my view, based on my experience, the Liberals will have zero trouble finding an excellent candidate to move into that position, you know, to fill Mr. Chiang's shoes. It is a very good campaign for the Liberals, despite these major blips on the screen. They're doing well overall, and I don't think that they're going to have any trouble recruiting somebody who will make Mr. Chiang just be a very quick memory.
So the Liberals aren't, of course, going to want to talk too much about it, but you know there will be questions this morning. Do you see that this is going to be something that the Conservatives may look to try to expose and try to capitalize on, or is the fact that Mackenzie, that they've already turfed one candidate, that they'll kind of be like, well, we better not talk about it because then that raises that specter for our side?
You know, Nick, it's such a fast-moving campaign. Nothing seems to drag on very long. Tomorrow, unless you've forgotten, is Liberation Day in the United States for Mr. Trump. So that's going to wash everything else away. Will they be able to drag this on? No. Will it, for example, come up as a jibe in a debate? You can see Poilievre trying to poke Carney with something like that in the English language debate. I wouldn't be surprised to see it come back in that kind of way. But I think that overall, everything just changes so rapidly in this campaign. The campaign planes just keep moving along, and day after day, things are evolving so rapidly. I don't see it as becoming a thing, but it stays in people's minds. People say, well, you know, what did that represent? Did he really think that it was okay to keep that guy, or was this his campaign giving him really bad advice? So it becomes a bit of a question mark, and I think that it'll stay there for a while.
Okay, very interesting stuff. CTV News political commentator and former NDP leader Tom Mulcair, thank you so much for your time.
Good to be with you.
Thank you, Tom.